Disinformation never stops, and neither do we. Welcome to StopFake, the place where we dissect disinformation and set the record straight on fakes about Ukraine. I'm Marko Suprun, and this week we tackle provocations on the Eastern Front, fake sanction claims, fake engine parts, and fake Russian ships. Details ahead. Media from Ukraine's Russian-occupied eastern territories are claiming Ukraine's security forces are readying provocations to be unleashed at the far eastern Stanitsa-Luhanska checkpoint over Easter weekend. The so-called Luhansk People's Republic State Television and Radio Company issued a warning from the Luhansk People's Republic State Security Ministry, claiming Ukrainian authorities would close the Stanitsa-Luhanska checkpoint to ensure that long lines formed in each direction. The checkpoint would then be reopened, frustrated people on both sides would charge to cross to the other side, and Ukrainian authorities would be forced to open fire to control the melee. Now, there is no other source for this fake claim except the so-called Luhansk People's Republic State Security Ministry's warning. Ukraine's State Border Guard Service spokesman Oleg Slobodyan called this claim an outright lie and said there were no plans to close the Stanitsa-Luhanska checkpoint. All our checkpoints will be open as usual over the Easter weekend, Slobodyan said. Today is Ukrainian Easter, and for the moment, all is quiet on the Eastern Front. Russian media were awash with stories last week claiming that U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham had admitted that sanctions against Russia were useless. Kremlin stalwart Ukraina.ru wrote that Graham said all of Washington's attempts to tame Russia were unsuccessful. RIA Novosti wrote that the senator had complained that Russia was running wild and attempts on the part of the White House to exert pressure on Russia were not working. These fake claims stem from a Fox News interview that Senator Graham did with Chris Wallace on escalating tensions between Russia and the U.S. Nowhere in the interview does Graham say that sanctions are not working. In this section of the interview, Russian media cite as an example of sanctions being ineffective, Wallace and Graham are not even discussing sanctions. Lindsey Graham says the following.
Russia's running wild. Whatever we're doing is not working, and the president, for some reason, has a hard time pushing back against Putin directly.
A recent report by the Geneva-based Program for the Study of International Governance, PSIG, at the Graduate Institute of International and Development Studies analyzes sanctions against Russia and concludes that they are effective on several fronts. In a recent article entitled "America's New Economic Sanctions May Hurt Russia's Recovery," The Economist magazine notes that while sanctions will not force Putin to change his course, they may make it more difficult for him to deal with the consequences of his actions as more ordinary Russians suffer economically. Scores of official Russian media disseminated stories this week claiming that Kyiv had admitted there are Ukrainian components in North Korean intercontinental ballistic missile engines. Russia Today, the Defense Ministry television channels Zvezda, REN TV, and others cite a UN expert on North Korea sanction named Dmitry Kyiv, who told RIA Novosti Ukraine confirmed that North Korean missile engines contain Ukrainian elements. Responding to StopFake's inquiries about these claims, Ukrainian UN mission spokesman Oleg Nikolenko said the information was completely false. This is just another Russian fake aimed at not only discrediting Ukraine, but compromising the UN as well. Ukraine has never had any involvement in the North Korean missile program, Nikolenko said. Mr. Nikolenko cast doubt on the professional integrity of Dmitry Kyiv, a Russian national who claims that Ukraine admitted it manufactured North Korean engine parts. Dmitry Kyiv, a Russian national, really is a UN expert, and his name appears on the latest UN Panel of Experts report on the North Korean missile program. However, there is absolutely nothing in the report about Ukraine's admission of providing North Korea with engine parts. Paragraphs 14 through 16 of this report clearly state that Ukraine's capacity to produce such engines was dismantled in 1994 and that Kyiv never entered into any talks or deals with North Korea involving engine parts. Scores of Russian media reported this week that Ukraine's State Border Guard Service detained a Russian fishing vessel in Russian territorial waters. All Russian media based their story on the Ukrainian State Border Guard Service notice about the vessel's detention. On March 25th, Ukraine's Border Guard Service apprehended a fishing boat flying a Russian flag in Ukrainian waters. The Crimean-registered vessel called Nord and its crew of 10 were escorted to the Ukrainian Azov seaport of Berdyansk. Russian media claim the fishing boat is Russian and the crew are Russian citizens. While checking the boat's provenance, Ukrainian authorities ascertained that the ship was registered in the Crimean port of Kerch, and the crew had Russian passports issued after 2014, the year Moscow illegally annexed and occupied the Ukrainian peninsula. According to the Ukrainian authorities, the detained vessel countless times violated Ukrainian laws, banning movement into and out of Ukraine's occupied territory, Crimea. That's it for this week. For more dissected fakes as well as tips on how to spot them, visit our website, StopFake.org. Also, check out some of the interesting work being done by our colleagues to battle disinformation in the context section. Look, respect your mind, be vigilant, and don't consume fakes. If you spot any disinformation about Ukraine, send it to us for a truth autopsy. I'm Marko Suprun, and this is StopFake. Thanks for watching.